So I know last week we talked a little bit about adding and terming employees. So I'm just going to search a test employee. And when you click on the edit, it's going to bring you straight to the employment tab. But today we're just going to look at the coverage tab and just talk about, like Melissa said, things to look for, ways that you can use it to check on different things. I always use it when I do a life event to make sure that the coverage is the way that it should be following a life event. So after you click on the tab up here, this is going to show all the active coverage that an employee has. And then, of course, all of these details over here. And something to note is that we do get some questions about if the coverage tab is different than the confirmation statement in the forms up here. So this is where your active coverage is, and the confirmation statement, the signed confirmation after enrollment, is really just like a snapshot in time after they elect their coverages, which if you do have any changes throughout the year, then it will change on the coverage tab and not on that confirmation statement unless you do a life event. That would be another confirmation. So on here, this is where all of your information is going to go to be sent to the carriers on EDI, to be sent for all your reporting. So this is what is most important to be accurate. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing if it's not the same as your signed confirmation. So as you see here on this employee, it's going to show all of their active coverage. And then if you wanted to see, so over here, it has an event, that's A. So if you want to see, sometimes there's a C, a D, anything. So for the add changes and deletions, if you want to see what that event is, you can go to this little arrow and it'll come up with a drop down on when the change was processed, who did it, and then if a reason is put in there, then it will have a reason as well. And you can do that for all of these different plans. And then if there was coverage that was terminated, you can go to the show coverage history. And I don't think this employee has any yet, but we can use the pencil and go in and terminate it so I can show you what that will look like. But this will just show all of their coverage history since enrolling on the Selerix platform. So I will say that if you're going to do any changes, it'll be pretty rare that you're actually going to use the pencil to make the change. That's usually going to be done with a live event or an upload. But there are circumstances where that you would just want to change one plan or something like that. So for example, if a retiree can keep their basic life or LTD or something until they turn 75 and you wanted to terminate the coverages besides that coverage that they're able to keep, then you can go to the pencil over here. And then the only thing that you would need to fill out on here would be the term date and the end deduction date. And I think, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, but there might have been a recent update. So you might, if you don't have that end deduction date on hand, you can just leave it blank and it will fill it in for you.
That's correct.
Okay. So if we are terming the coverage, I can put in the 9th. And if the end deduction date was, let's say, like next Friday, that's all you need to fill out up here. And I would say that we probably won't use the pending information section. If you think that if there's something in here, if you think that you need to use it, I would definitely reach out to a CSM and they can help you with that. The only other thing that you need to fill out to terminate the coverage is make sure the event date is correct and then put in a reason. So so you'll probably put in an administrative change. And then if you want to make a note to yourself, so that will be what you see on that drop down like I just showed you before. So I'll just put test in here, but whatever note will help you remember why you made that change. And then you'll click update. And I usually get this error because I just put in a random date. But if you have the correct deduction date, or if you just leave it blank, then it won't show up in that error. But if you ever put in, I think if you just press OK here and then cancel, it won't cancel what you just did, but it will take you back to the coverage tab that we had pulled up before. And see, now with the show coverage history, this has the plan that we just terminated X'd out. So that means that it is terminated. It'll have your term date. Usually when you have if you have different plan years with these plans, it will show the term date as the last date of your plan year, and then the new effective date will be the first day of your new plan year. But since we just termed this for yesterday, that's what the term date is here. And then if we go back here, we'll show that I made that change and the reason was a test and what the date was. And then it won't show up here because this is just their active coverage now, since we unchecked the show coverage history. And then another thing that is really great with this pencil here is if you want to see, like, let's say you did a life event and you are adding a new baby to an employee's plan. If you want to make sure and just check yourself and make sure that the life event was processed correctly, once you're on the pencil over here, if you go to individuals covered, it will show you everyone that's covered on this plan for the employee. So this one is just employee spouse, and so they have the employee and the spouse covered. So that way, if you'll know that you did it correctly when that new baby is added to the plan, or you skipped a step if you don't see that baby added. And then we usually won't use these two tabs, but if you go back to info, if you want to get back to the coverage tab, again, just press cancel and it will take you back here. Melissa, is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Coverage tab is very handy, like Emma said, super important because this is what goes to your carriers and this is what is on reports as well. Emma, can you go to the forms tab for this person and click on that enrollment confirmation? So as you guys can see, the enrollment confirmation is showing everything that the employee enrolled in, probably during open enrollment, maybe as a new hire. We don't have a reason for completing the form, so probably a new hire. So you can see that employee spouse medical is still showing on this form. But if you go to the coverage tab, we deleted that just that one plan. So we terminated that plan. So that's an example where the enrollment confirmation form and the coverage tab does not match. And that's okay that it doesn't match. It just means that an enrollment was not processed. So some of you have post-tax plans, and you can see if a plan is pre-tax or post-tax in the column there in the middle, right there. So if it's a Y, it means pre-tax. If it's an N, it means post-tax. So some of you allow your employees to cancel post-tax plans whenever they want to. So that would be a scenario where you would use the pencil button and you would terminate just that one plan like Emma showed you how to do. But their enrollment confirmation form is not going to match their coverage tab because you just terminated that one plan instead of going through an active enrollment. And Laura just asked anytime the change is made through life events, does the confirmation form update? Yes, it does, because you're actually going through an enrollment. So if you are waiving coverage, or like Emma said, if you're adding a new baby, if somebody gets married or divorced and they change their coverage based on that life event, they will go through an enrollment and sign with their PIN at the end. Or if you're doing it for them, you'll put in your administrative password at the end, and a new form will generate due to that life event. And then Shandy asked what if an employee needs to provide a current benefit summary and their form is not current based on the coverage tab? You can do a couple things with that. And anytime an employee changes their beneficiary, they can do that at any time. So Emma, can you click on the enroll button for this person? Let's just show them how they change a beneficiary. This person is not in their new hire window, so they cannot make any changes to their benefits. But in that gray box on the right-hand side, change my beneficiary, click on that. Click next. Sign with your PIN. Hit the check mark. And let's see if a new form generated from there. Go ahead and log out. We'll look at this person.
Okay.
Nope, a beneficiary change does not generate a new statement. So we would have to open up a life event or that to open up the system and just go through an enrollment that way. We don't just want to open up the system just because. So make sure you have your CSM help you with that. Zach, what's another question from the chat?
It looks like Linda. Well, Shandy had a follow-up if you want to stay with that.
Okay.
She said she was referring to the actual benefits. Sometimes employees need to provide to lawyers, spouse, employers, etc.
So yeah, your CSM can open up an enrollment for you. We can do that through a manual life event. We don't really encourage HR users to open up a manual life event because that's kind of the trump card to everything. So you really, really, really have to have an understanding of what you're doing before we do that life event. So we can open up a life event and go through an actual enrollment. So that way a new confirmation statement would be generated. Or anytime an employee logs in, their active benefits on that homepage, when it says, welcome back, Linda, welcome back, Melissa, welcome back, Emma, whoever the employee is, that green box at the bottom of the homepage, those are their active benefits. So that's pulling from the coverage tab. So they will see their active benefits on that homepage. So if they need a printed confirmation statement and it doesn't match their active coverage on the coverage tab, reach out to your CSM and have them open up enrollment so that we can generate a new form. Or whenever they log in, they can see their active benefits on the homepage in that green box.
Awesome. Linda also said she's had a life event and it looks like the baby was added, but the benefit summary form had the baby's name. It just wasn't, but under the enrollment, it was blank.
So that probably means that the baby was added to the system. So the life event, I have a new baby, was probably processed. to get the baby added to the demographics tab for the employee. So say a baby was born yesterday, 5/9/22. So test baby was born 5/9/22. The baby exists in the system, but the employee did not check any of those boxes to enroll that baby in coverage. So anytime you process a life event, you have to go through an enrollment in order to add or remove a dependent from coverage. This is the same with a job class change as well. So anytime changes need to be made in benefits, you have to go through an enrollment. So you'll process the life event, you'll get the baby added. But if you just log out at that point without checking any of those boxes to open up the plans, and if you don't actually go through the system and re-enroll, saying that, yes, I want to add test baby to my medical and dental and vision and my child voluntary term life, and then you don't sign the confirmation form at the end with your PIN, then that baby exists on the demographics tab, but that baby is not covered on any of your plans because an enrollment was not processed.
And that's where it's nice to be able to click in here and check the individuals covered. So that way you can make sure that you did not skip that step. And then if you didn't see them there, you would know there's something that I forgot about. I might need to redo that.
Correct.
Okay, Mary Casey at IPS said, will the personal benefits statement on the reports tab update if a change is made on the coverage tab?
I don't know. Let's look at the reports tab. Let's find out. I don't look at the reports tab, honestly, so I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe we could have a takeaway on that and get back to Mary. Linda also asked, where are the life events forms located after they are approved?
Life event form. So if you require like a marriage certificate and the employee uploads it, that's going to be in the form tab. So for self-service life events, if employees are making changes to their benefits, it's going to go into your follow-up queue. And then any forms that they upload along with that life event, those are going to be on your form tab as well. But I saw that the reports tab, the report that Emma just ran, it actually did show, Emma, yeah, it's on that tab, actually did show the change that was made. So this could also be used if you needed to provide a new benefit confirmation, like for a lawyer or for a spouse employer or something like that.
All right, looks like Andrea Martin, I believe, said, I see electronic notices under the plan on your coverage screen. What types of electronic notices do other corporations use for this feature?
You guys can respond in the chat if you think of something else, but under electronic notices, these are usually just forms that you want employees to acknowledge that they have seen before. So these would be forms that are in your form library, like chip notices. Some people use like the benefit guide or OSHA forms or something like that. So a list of forms that you need to provide to all of your employees, and they need to acknowledge that they have seen the form, we can upload all of those into your form library. And then on the enrollment screen, there will be a list of forms, or maybe you just want that screen to say, I acknowledge that I've looked at the form library. And then they have to say yes, and then they move on with enrollment. But it's usually at the end of enrollment, and it's really just an acknowledgement. There isn't anything, the plan doesn't do anything. It just says, yep, I know that these are here, moving on. The electronic notices would not show up on the coverage tab if a person did not go through enrollment. So if they just decided not to enroll and waive all of their coverage or something like that, then they would not have that acknowledgement on their coverage tab.
So as an acknowledgement of signature, sign off, those are only going to show up when that is actually processed or executed by the employee, rather than what we see with plans from year to year rolling over. Those will roll over. Those electronic notices, if they have not been signed or acknowledged for that year, will not show up under the coverage tab.
Correct. We put that as part of your case wrap document that we ask you guys to acknowledge every single year. What happens if somebody doesn't go through enrollment? And as we know, all employees go through open enrollment every single year, right? So what happens when they don't? But should the plans roll over? So like your medical plan, should they be allowed to keep what they had last year and just have to pay the new rate? So we go over that with you guys every single year. But the electronic notices will make sure that if an employee does not go through open enrollment, that acknowledgement does not carry over to the next year. These are great questions. We've had some good dialogue today.
Very good question. Joyce had actually asked if we could show that on the screen. Joyce, were you meaning the actual electronic notice? Maybe give her a chance there. I don't know. Yes, she wanted to see if do we have something available in the demo case here?
Maybe we can try clicking enroll, Emma, and see. This employee isn't in a new hire or open enrollment window, but we can go to that electronic notices page. It's probably it's not going to say anything. If you guys want to see that, let your CSM know, and we can send you a screenshot of what it looks like on this case or another case where we have it enabled.